Hey everybody, got another build here for you. This is the North Carolina guitar. This is actually an ES 355 kit, and this took me two different kits in order to actually pull this off to what degree I succeeded. You see. The first one I sanded through the veneer and ruined the kit and had to get a second kit. The big challenge on this was trying to get something close to a North Carolina blue on a flame maple veneer, and I did the best I could, but it could be better. It could be better. I had to settle for a kind of like blue slash antique look. It's got some yellowish brownish in there, so it could be better. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it's actually probably about as good as you can get with stains and flame maple. So yeah, this is probably going to be the last time I try to color match a particular color with stain, because it's just too much like work between the wood and the stain that you're using, and mixing it precisely the right strengths and having enough to do it all of it. It's just too much of a pain. For stains, which I do prefer in general, I prefer stained to painted. Um, I'm just gonna, do it until it looks good, and whatever color it is whatever color it is. With this one here, it was like I had to put the stuff on so thin that when you put it on, it actually looked like water, and you couldn't even see any blue in the stain. And then after 2 or 3 coats, you'd get down to this. But we ran lots of tests before we ever actually did the guitar, and it was like, if you got, depending on the section of wood, if you got 3 coats, you got this, which more overall, I mean, part of it's too dark, and part of it's too light, and part of it's brown, but it was the closest possible shade. And then if you went anything more, it started turning into your normal bathtub blue type of flame maple top, which was definitely too dark. And in fact, that's the reason why I tried sanding back the first kit, is because I got it down to a bathtub blue and it was too dark. And so this time I was going to be sure not to get it too dark, because there was no going back. And so this is as far as I dared go. And then for the rest of the build, the color scheme was white and silver. And it got, for hardware upgrades, what this got was this build is for a friend who's a North Carolina Tarheels fan, and so this is a NC Tarheels themed guitar, and he's a new player. So once again, this has the hardware, which is selected for easier restringing, basically, and so. But he also wanted a Chuck Berry type of guitar in a North Carolina theme, so it's an ES 355 with the real bigsby on it. And let's see, up the top end, what do we got going on? It's got locking tuners for easy restring. It's got a custom-made tree for the string tree here. It's got a little NC bling on the truss rod cover. Uses a roller nut for ease of restringing. It's a standard 355, Gibson scale length, stuff like that. It's just baseline pickups there. It's got a nice tone and everything. It's a real pretty guitar. It's just not real loud. I've got some PAF types in the save for later pile on eBay, going for about 40 a set. And I've also got some dual rail humbuckers and some zebras that are both really hot, like 17K, almost 8 Henrys that are, and yeah, the two 2 rail humbuckers. Yeah, it's like a hot rail, but it's a full size, and it's only got 2 rails. And those are in white or cream, as I recall. White, I think. So, but what I'm thinking is, if my buddy wants to go with something hotter, if he wants to go with a traditional thing, I can do the PAF types, and they already come with silver colors. Or otherwise, I'm thinking maybe go with like the zebras and then get some silver covers for them. And that way, if he wants to run it no covers, he's got some zebras underneath, which will look nice, and people think are nicer, even though it's just a color scheme. But yeah, so, or he might just want to leave it with this for now and then decide later. I can always upgrade it for him later on. Then, so that's the pickups. It's got a roller. Come on, camera, focus a little bit. And it's got a roller bridge on it. And then, of course, the bigsby with some more North Carolina bling. And all the knobs got North Carolina bling on them. And it's all done in silver and white. And dual strap locks and North Carolina strap. And on the back, it's been converted to a bolt-on with, once again, more North Carolina bling. And that's what the headstock looks like. It's all pretty straightforward. Once again, it was real hard to get a North Carolina tint going on this thing, so I just kind of did the best I could, and it was like, you know, I could get it kind of a weathered North Carolina blue. It's really what I was trying to shoot for, because I couldn't really get the real McCoy. The sides took it a little better than the face and the back did, but I tell you, man, this is probably going to be the last, or one of the last, conventional builds. I'm not doing so many builds these days because I can't really think of that much stuff worthy to build. I mean, this thing, it's all a nice guitar and everything, and I learned on an AS355 when I was young, but compared to like the X12 or something, this thing's, it's big and bulky and clumsy and stuff like that, So now it's like I've only got like, well, I'm upgrading some of the experimental and minimalist guitars to being a single swing bar, the ones that have the twin V bars, and I'm going to be doing a black stained Strat with all black hardware. That's what that blue thing up in the corner is for. But right now, things are kind of on hold because I'm waiting for parts, mostly, on the few builds that I do plan to go ahead with. What I'm looking for, or waiting on, is, come here, tube. More of these guys. This is the carbon fiber tube off the carbon fiber build. And obviously the fretboard's been removed. But the plan is you take 2 of these things and you put them side by side, and that might give you something that's wide enough to support the fretboard in a stable manner, because there was issues with the fretboard being kind of wavy along the edges with just a single rod. So I'm going to try 2 rods, because that'll give you, it still gives you a nice profile for the neck with the 2 rods. And it might be enough stability on the fretboard so that you can get a carbon fiber neck going. Because these carbon fiber necks and these aluminum V-bar necks, they're just so much lighter than a wood neck even. And so even a minimalist wood neck is still pretty heavy by comparison. So if I can get something super lightweight to work in a neck, that would be really cool. And another thing I've done is, for these guitars that have headstocks, I've been going with the minimalist headstock, where I'll do like where it'll be, usually it's a 6x-L, and then you cut it out so that you just got the little piece sticking up like I did on the Oriental. I'm doing that on a couple other things. I'm doing it on guitar number 3, and I'm doing it on the curved triangle. And then I'm also putting these things on them. ultra lightweight tuners, open back, plastic knobs, and then they mount with 2 screws, but what I do is I cut this side off and then use a little sander wheel on the Dremel in order to sand it smooth and turn it into a 1 screw mount tuner. And oh my god, it makes, like, if you take these locking tuners off of this headstock and replace it with a set of these guys that have been trimmed down, it makes a ton of difference as to how heavy the top end of the guitar is. It makes a real big difference. I did it on something recently. What was it? Oh, I did it on the Oriental. And the guitar, before, you would pick up the guitar here, and it was more or less balanced with the locking tuners on it. And then when I put the lightweight tuners on the Oriental, you'd pick it up the same place, and all the weight was at the bottom end now. It lost all the weight at the top end. So yeah, this is really looking good for making something that's got a headstock more ergonomic. So I'm basically at this point now, I'm more or less waiting on parts for almost everything. I want to get some more carbon fiber tubes in so that I can test out a twin carbon fiber tube neck. I'm going to do one on the X9, I think, and then because it's still got an aluminum neck on it, and instead of putting a wood neck on it, I'm going to try the carbon fiber. And then, assuming that works, which I have pretty high confidence level that the twin carbon fiber is going to work out, because it should provide as much stability as the V-bar, and it's going to have much better ergonomics. So, and the V-bar does work, it just isn't that ergonomic is the thing. So I think then I'm going to do a carbon fiber 2 build where I'll be using the twin carbon fiber neck, and I'll be using this. This is a solid 1-piece Bubinga body blank. And I got 2 of these guys for $45 on eBay. And it's beautiful Bubinga wood, and this stuff is like, well, I wish I had 2 hands, I'd hold it up and make it ring for you, but yeah, it's very nice wood. Very nice wood. And that's, it's got a really high specific stiffness too. So, and when I had this body going on the X11, this is Bubinga, but it just wasn't long enough. Now I've got a nice big piece to work with. I was really impressed with the way the stuff was behaving as far as the sound. It had a very bright sound to it, similar to like a solid maple. I've also got some solid maple here, which I'll probably be using for a couple builds as well. I've got 2 pieces of solid maple about the same size. But at the moment, other than like the black stained strat with black hardware, and that's about it for conventional type builds that I'm still planning on executing. My ideas of stuff like, well, let's see. The dobro, it turned out I didn't have an acoustic big enough to fit the dobro cone. So that's on hold until I buy a larger acoustic that I can butcher to put a dobro cone in or something like that. So, and other than that, I haven't really thought of none of the rest of the conventional type builds really seem worth doing, except for this black stained strat. And so then going forward, it's like, about the only thing I can figure is that I can do, assuming the twin carbon fiber necks work out, then I'm going to be building guitars with carbon fiber necks and the hemispherical sphere hemispherical fret ends using the method that I came up with. And there's no reason why I can't buy stainless steel frets and make these carbon fiber necks with stainless steel frets and hemispherical ends. So I guess I'll step up my game to doing that. And then I'll be using stuff like Bubinga or flame maple, or I've still got red oak for the bodies and the bars and such. And then I think it's mostly going to be minimalist guitars with a single swing bar and a minimalist headstock for builds that use a headstock, depending on what kind of bridge you choose. And then you can either go, if you want to trim, Steinberger is the obvious choice. And if you don't want to trim, then you can just get away with building a tail tuner. And then the other thing you can do is like build minimalist versions of traditional guitars. Like I was thinking the minimalist version of a Gibson, where you would take a Gibson neck and a Gibson, and it'd have headstock, but you'd probably like cut it out a little bit to try to make it a bit more minimalist, and use lightweight tuners, lock nut, Gibson scale length, twin PAFs, roller, and a bigsby. Basically what you've got here, but with the triangle trapezoid neck and a minimalist headstock and lightweight tuners and a lock nut, and then a Bubinga body, a minimalist Bubinga body, in order to fit all this stuff. And then it'd have a single swing bar, and then you'd probably have some kind of a bar or a tail, or the body would come down here, and then there'd be a control plate in this region here where all this stuff would go. And you'd have a minimalist swing bar stick version of a Gibson style guitar, because this basic setup, the scale length and a pair of humbuckers and a three-way someplace on the body, and some combination of volumes and tones, and either a bigsby or a stop tail or a fine tuner stop tail, and the headstock that they sue everybody over. Okay, enough Gibson jokes. But I mean, this basic setup here, you can take this and you can swap out. This is the same setup they use on a V. This is the same setup on a Modern. This is the same setup on an Explorer. This is the same setup on a Les Paul. This is the same setup on an ES355 or any of the ES3 whatever hollow body, semi-hollow bodies they make. So basically all Gibson guitars are the same between here and here. They're all the same. It's all the same scale length. It's all the same bridge and pickups and necks and everything, more or less. And then the only thing they swap out is like the bodies and the colors and stuff and where the controls are and things. So that would be an example of like a Gibson type. And then you could also do the same idea in let's see. I came up with a list. You could do an Esquire, you could do a Strat with a minimalist body and a single swing bar. These are all minimalist body, single swing bar. Ones that have headstocks would be minimalist headstocks with lightweight tuners and a lock nut. But you could do a Strat type, you could do an Esquire type, you could do a Telly type, you could do a Gibson type. They're all the same, so just one Gibson type basically. Either stop tail or bigsby or fine tuner stop tail on the Gibsons. You could also do one with a PRS neck with a PRS scale length and your typical PRS setup, twin humbuckers and whatever. You could do a Floyd Rose. In fact, guitar number 3 is getting the single swing bar treatment right now, and that's going to end up being a minimalist Floyd Rose. And then you could also do, let's see, a Steinberger. That would be basically like an X12 kind of a thing, maybe without the built-in EQ. maybe with 2 humbuckers and a 3-way and a volume and a tone. And other than that, about the only other thing I've been thinking about building is what I call the scarab, and that's really nothing more than a kind of a, this kind of a body shape, sort of like the curved triangle, but a different shape, more of a, it looks kind of like a Jackson Roswell or like a Star Trek communicator thingy, but not. It's not asymmetric. It's a symmetric shape. It's the same on the left and the right side. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing both a regular and a tail tuner version of that, the same way I did with the curved tries. But first, I'm waiting to see what's up with the carbon fiber necks. So that's where things are at, and that's the reason why I haven't been doing so many build videos or putting up so many videos recently. I actually haven't. This one, the fret ends were rounded using they were using the first method where I would use the concave file and would hit it up in all the directions, but it did leave marks. Can't really tell from this phone this way, but yeah, it did leave some marks. So I moved on to the third method now, which uses the quarter round file as well, but you can get away without the quarter round. But yeah, so as far as like this build, getting back to this build, this, like I said, this is a kit build, pretty straightforward. The big challenge was trying to get the stain color close. Couldn't really get it right, but I got it as close as I could. And lesson learned is just don't even try. Don't even bother fucking trying. That's my best advice. Just don't even try. You know, if you want to do a pastel and something in a wood, you know, you can try a lot of tests and you might manage something, but it's not easy, especially if you're trying to get a particular result. You know, what I wanted on this thing is I wanted the dark blues to be North Carolina blue. I wanted the light blues to be slightly lighter than the dark blues. I didn't want any brown at all. And I don't think it was doable with this type of wood, to tell you the truth. So maybe with a birch, maybe with a white pine, but yeah. Flame maple and pastels, problematic. Problematic at best. So yeah, my best advice is just say no. Just say no. I don't know. Unless you got a trick, and then you can do it and sell them for $1 million, right? I mean, I saw absolutely to die for raspberry dragon's breath semi-hollow body custom shop PRS 24 special go for $13,000 off of Sweetwater, I think it was. And man, that was a pretty guitar, and it was a light color, and it was flamed. So it can be done, but it's not easy. It's not easy. But enough rambling. Fortunately, I've got bandwidth, so I can afford to ramble a little bit. It won't take forever to upload this. All right, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.